Geordie Journos back at St James's Park, where we've been speaking to Eddie Howe and Dan Burn ahead of Newcastle United's return to Champions League action on Wednesday night against Athletic Club, not Athletic Bilbao, Jordan.
Yeah, no, you're right, but I'm still going to call them Bilbao on this video and in copy on Newcastle World as well. But that is correct.
Yes.
But yeah, very pedantic.
Let us know what you think. Is it Athletic Bilbao, Athletic Club? Silly topic to start the video on,
really
but
silly.
You may notice Liam is not here.
Yes.
I think West Ham has taken it out of him, and there's been illness running through the Newcastle camp. It's extended to Liam Kennedy as well, by the sounds of it.
Yes, illness blow for Liam.
For the Geordie Journos, really.
It was a long day on Sunday, and if you've got a bit of illness inside you, then it has the potential to tip you over the edge, and Liam has been tipped over the edge. So yeah, Liam wasn't here tonight, and I don't think he'll be at the match tomorrow. So the Geordie Journos viewers will have to deal with us two for the next 48.
You've got to enjoy us too as well. So yeah, Liam very much the Bruno Guimaraes of the Geordie Journos midfield trio, if you like, because he is a doubt for tomorrow night's game, which is where we'll start, and where Eddie Howe more or less started his press conference.
Yeah, so Bruno didn't train outdoors at the training ground today, was present at the training ground, was indoors doing a recovery session from the West Ham game. Yeah, a bit of illness around the camp. Eddie Howe mentioned a couple of players that had been affected by it of late, Sandro Tonali, of course, being the most recent one.
Most obvious one.
It was the...
Kieran Trippier, obviously.
Yeah, Kieran Trippier as well. So, and Jacob Murphy he mentioned in those list of names as well.
Probably explains why Jacob Murphy maybe hasn't been starting every game, despite playing well.
Yeah. Illness and Achilles injuries with Jacob Murphy, I think, although I think he might be over that Achilles injury now. But yeah, Bruno, the latest player to fall victim of the flu doing the rounds in Newcastle United's dressing room. So whether he'll be fit tomorrow, we shall wait and see. Was it the Champions League last time that he for Tonali? Was it the Benfica game last time?
Yeah, because Lewis Miley came in.
So I asked on that video, I said, I think Tonali will play. So should I change my mind and say I don't think Bruno will play on this one because I was wrong the last time? Yeah, I think Bruno's during sort of the moment when you really need your skipper, which Newcastle do because it was a really bad result on Sunday. Do you play him if he's the slightest bit fit? You probably do. I think Bruno will be desperate to play as well. So I'll say he'll probably be on the start 11 tomorrow. But yeah, we'll come on to a team in a bit because I do think Eddie Howe should shake it up a little bit in terms of team selection after Sunday, because a lot of the questions were directed at Sunday.
Yeah, rightly so as well.
Yeah, just how pitiful it was. I mean, everything was said in the video. I have to stand by that. It was a really poor, shambolic performance. Again, a context given, it was the worst under Eddie Howe. What went wrong? Eddie Howe said he's done a lot of analysis, looked back on the game a lot, said it was a multitude of factors that led to that performance. Didn't blame illness. I've seen a couple of people suggesting in the comments that there's illness going through the camp. Could that have impacted Newcastle overall? And he said yes, potentially individuals that we've named, but in terms of the team, Eddie Howe refused to use that as an excuse, and rightly so, because that wouldn't have been.
It wouldn't have been a good look.
No, it wouldn't. But yeah, I think going on to Dan Burn, because I think Dan Burn summed up perfectly in that press conference. I think
because there wasn't much.
There wasn't too much to go at really, apart from previewing the game, a big sort of game, but
need a reaction. Dan Burn's press conference was the one where we could have really dig our teeth into a little bit more.
Yeah, because I think you got spot on with, and look, it's probably stating the obvious in many respects, but literally you've got a team of players that can get up for the big games under lights at St James's Park, as we say, and not be able to go to West Ham and not be able to go to Brentford and get results. And that's the sort of the mentality. Dan Burn essentially questioned the mentality of the squad, and said that it was pretty much the Premier League is your bread and butter, and they've got to start performing, and that'll be the ultimate test this week again. They failed the test so far, Newcastle, in terms of those Premier League away games in particular. And we said on Sunday, like, that West Ham result has to be the sort of the line in the sand. Or Liam said that, and I think that has to come true this week. Newcastle have to get a result tomorrow night, and they have to go and get something at Brentford on Sunday, because the Premier League table is not pretty at this moment in time.
No, and that sort of bleeds into the Champions League as well. Like Liam was speaking on Sunday about not being as enthused for this game because, and yourself as well, because it's ultimately not marrying up the Champions League form and winning the last 2 games in this competition, not marrying up with the Premier League form. And the player who sort of sums that up has been Anthony Gordon, which is a player Eddie Howe was asked about as well, because he's scored 4 goals, assisted 1 in 3 Champions League games so far this season. In the Premier League, hasn't scored or assisted since January. 19 games since his last goal contribution in the Premier League. For a player who, was signed for a good amount of money at the time and has sort of repaid what Newcastle paid for him and increased his value, but for a player who probably is seen by a lot of outsiders, I think, and maybe himself to a degree, as one of Newcastle's key men, and I reckon Eddie Howe probably sees him as that, has not delivered in the Premier League games. Delivered in the Champions League against subpar Benfica side and relative minnows in Union SG. Hasn't done it in the Premier League, and I think Anthony Gordon, there's so much frustration around him, because if he turns up tomorrow night, which I wouldn't bet against, if he turns up tomorrow night, scores a goal or 2, great, we'll love that, but it doesn't erase the frustration. If anything, it just proves a point.
Yeah, we'll come on to Anthony Gordon, because I think we're going to quick ad break here, because I've just had the hurry up from our right hand side here, pitch side, so we'll go back inside the bowels of St James Park and we'll talk more about Anthony Gordon and other things as well. So here are our Geordie Journos sponsors.
Comply IT Limited. Worrying about disposing of your old IT equipment? Don't be. Comply IT handle everything. Secure collection, detailed tracking and certified data destruction. That's Comply IT Limited. Four Rivers Financial Planning offer holistic financial advice for all stages of life, ensuring your plan remains robust and adaptable in the ever-changing world we live in. For 21 years, JLM Travel have been offering great deals on package holidays and cruises. Plus low deposits and free kids places are available. Branches at Maingate, Team Valley and Front Street Wickham. RJ Building Surveyors is a trusted RICS accredited family-run firm with over 15 years of experience specialising in residential surveys and valuations. Based in Yorkshire, their expert services extend nationwide. Whether buying, selling or seeking peace of mind about your home, they've got you covered.
Right, we're back. We're not quite in the bowels of St James's Park, but we are in sort of the concourse and the...
Yeah. This is as far as a regular match-going fan would get to the bowels of St James's Park, I think.
Yeah, so we'll speak about Anthony Gordon. Do you want to part that for now and go on a bit on to Dan Burn, and then we'll come back to Anthony Gordon, or do you want to stick with Anthony Gordon?
No, I'll stick with Anthony Gordon for now, because I'm interested to know your thoughts, because I know we spoke about Anthony Gordon. We're massive fans of Anthony Gordon. We know how good he can be, and it ties into something Dan Burn said, actually, where he was asked about like being a consistent performer and things like that, a consistent 7 out of 10, and he went, some players are capable of going 9, 10 out of 10 any given game, but then drop the levels. I think Anthony Gordon sums that up. You go to that Benfica game last time out in the Champions League, he was a 9, 10 out of 10 player. I'm pretty sure you gave him a 10 out of 10 in your Newcastle World Player Ratings, and that sums him up. But then on Sunday, he was probably a 3 out of 10. That's the problem with a player like Anthony Gordon this season, or this year as a whole. He's let Newcastle down or not delivered too many times, I think. The red cards, the 2 red cards, and not showing up in the Premier League. Look, great player, has a very high ceiling, but we need to see it more often. The difference between actual top level players, which Anthony Gordon will aspire to be, and just middling Premier League wingers or sort of above average Premier League winners, is consistency, and Anthony Gordon needs to show it.
I think that's why he's singled out, because I think based off...
We know how good he can be.
Yeah, based off Sunday's performance, you could single out pretty much anyone, because it was a really poor performance, but Anthony Gordon, because we know what he can be and how good he is, and as he mentioned there, he can put in 10 out of 10 performances, but because he's fallen so low this season in terms of the Premier League, it's not good enough. He's got to start showing it on a consistent level. As I say, like Champions League, is it like you go to question mentality, because he's almost like completed the Premier League, because he got player of the season a couple of years ago, and then he's new with England. He sort of didn't score a goal in the Champions League last time, so it's almost like motivations where it's like, well, actually you can see why he's extra motivated to play for England and play for the Champions League. It's all new. But the Premier League is your bread and butter. As I've just said before.
That's what you should be judged on.
Yeah, and look at the stat. I think if you said it before, 19 games without goal or assist. That for a player of his quality in England international, that is a rancid stat. Yes. Let's be honest. It's really poor.
We've been critical of Anthony Elanga for a lot less.
Yes.
And it's not great, but it's been sort of it's painting over the cracks a little bit how good he has been in the Champions League.
I know, yeah, and that's what I mean. Like he's literally, I think he's 2 goals off from being Newcastle. He's top goal scorer in the Champions League ever. Like
fair play.
4 goals in 3 games. Like that again, that's a frustration because he's shown it. And look, he might go. He's playing against lesser qualities. Less like he didn't play against a very good team on Sunday, albeit Wan-Bissaka as a decent fullback, but. It's the lack of consistency between Champions League and Premier League it's a real concern, and it was interesting to see Eddie Howe mention that he wasn't asked about it first. He was asked about the changes he made at the weekend at first, and he mentioned about Nick Voldemort. I took him off because he played a lot of football. I think it's 8 consecutive starts, 10 all competitions, including country. Whereas with Anthony Gordon, he said, been great in the Champions League, but hasn't hit the levels in the Premier League, and that for me was sort of a telling assessment. Eddie Howe recognises it. He's not blind. He sees it as well. That's a chance for Anthony Gordon now is to start performing in the Premier League. And if he continues to go on like this, how long do you keep Anthony Gordon in the team? That's the thing. He's like, for me, he was always almost like not an undroppable player, but
one of your first names on the team.
Absolutely, because because how good he is. But if he's not performing, then that's what I mean. Like. Does it need a shake-up? Is that what he needs? Does he need that sort of disappointment of not being in the team in the Premier League, whatever? I don't know, but something has to change. Conversations to be had with him between him and Eddie Howe. Will that inspire him? I don't know. But as I say, with 10 games in the Premier League season now, and he hasn't really performed well. He was getting credit at the start because he performed out of position and sort of as a central striker and didn't. And up until that Liverpool game, he got sent off. Was doing a very, very good job in that role. But since going out his preferred left-hand side position, the output has just not been good enough, and he's been actually probably lucky the fact that he's propped himself up with good Champions League performances, because if he didn't have those, you're looking at him in the season and going, not good. But that is the challenge now. He's got to do it in the Premier League, but if he doesn't start doing it in the Champions League, that becomes an issue as well. So we need a reaction from him tomorrow night, not just him, but everyone as well. But because Anthony Gordon is the player that you look to, your big game player, you need to see more.
The problem is the reaction. Really, we could get a reaction tomorrow night. Great, solves nothing really. It only proves your point more. You need the reaction in the performance at Brentford on Sunday,
and that goes back to what Dan Burn was saying. That's a team thing. Whereas literally, you've got a team that gets up for the big nights and doesn't turn up with Brentford on Saturday, and that's for me. Dan Burn got spot on when he said that. Absolutely spot on. So I don't think we'll learn anything new about Newcastle tomorrow. I think it's a game they should win. The talk in there from the Athletic Club journalists and manager, player, they're all asked about injuries. They've got a lot of injuries. You know, Nico Williams tomorrow night. There's a few. I think there's injury list about 7 or 8 players. They've got a lot of players missing. So really, there's no reason why Newcastle shouldn't win tomorrow. So you've got to go and do it. But again, it's going back in that Premier League game at the weekend when that's when the real questions are asked and when they've got to be answered, especially after what was a dismal performance at West Ham.
Yes, it's funny as well because Athletic Club seem to have a very similar season to Newcastle, domestically inconsistent. They lost, big blow to them, losing last minute against the rivals Real Sociedad at the weekend, and that was something touched upon. The mid-table in La Liga had a couple of good results, couple of bad results, so very similar season to Newcastle really. Obviously not quite got up to speed in the Champions League yet. They spoke about a decent performance against Karabakh last time out in this competition, but ultimately they'll be probably needing to win this game as the sort of pot 4 away game. They'll probably be needing to win this game in the view of realistically qualifying, whereas Newcastle, if they win this, you're looking, can you even finish top 8? You're almost 1 foot in the next round, aren't you? So big game in a lot of ways for both teams. I'd like to think Newcastle can put in another performance, but I think putting in another performance doesn't really teach us anything about this side. No. You're almost looking a game past it. into that Brentford game on Sunday.
Lose, like, not getting a result tomorrow just adds to the misery.
Yeah.
It's almost like, this sounds really silly, they do have things to be gained by winning tomorrow, because you literally put yourself in an unbelievable position to qualify for the next stage of Champions League. But in terms of the context of the season, the questions being asked, they won't answer any tomorrow night. It's the Premier League format's issue, in particular the away form, and that's, if you look at the two games, Sunday is the bigger game.
Yeah.
But tomorrow is very important, because, as I say, we're almost like you're almost looking like getting the next stage of the Champions League, and we're just like, oh, you know what, it doesn't really matter. But that's because it's so bad in the Premier League, and that's the feeling the Premier League's creating. It's not creating a good feeling, where if they were just performing well in both, they'd be great. Yeah.
Really good. And we'll get on to that in a second. Go back to something Dan Burns said, where, look, we spoke about how he gave some very telling answers, and harsh words were probably said after that West Ham game. He recognised he wasn't good enough in that West Ham game, so he felt he was probably not the man to stand up and point fingers, because he knew himself his own performance wasn't good enough. But I thought it was interesting in speaking about something Newcastle certainly had a couple of years ago, particularly when they finished fourth, the sort of dark arts of football. He referenced Arsenal being a team that like to do that, and he didn't say the word, but we all know the word.
Housery.
Yeah.
Something housery,
yes,
is what Dan Burns said.
So, yeah, we need more from that from Newcastle. The nasty side of Newcastle. Yeah, we've been there before, though.
Housery's been gone for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, that season, the first full season, Eddie Howe, they wound up a lot of teams. They haven't done that very often recently.
No.
I don't know, what is it? Is it know-how, being streetwise, whatever? I don't think you should ever lose that, because that's like one of the key characteristics of what made this Eddie Howe team good, but I don't think we've seen that for a long time.
No, I do think they've lost look, it's been great 2025, I don't want to take anything away from it. They've achieved things that I didn't expect this time 12 months ago, but I do think there's been a slight loss of identity in Newcastle's side. That hard work, outgunning the opponents, free scoring as well, has just completely dissipated this season. There's been obvious mitigating factors behind that, but Newcastle at the moment, I'm not really sure what type of team they are this season. Are they a creative team? Not really. Are they a goal scoring team? Not at all. Are they a defensively solid team? They were to a point, but that was undone certainly on Sunday at West Ham. Has been, you'd say, at Brighton as well, in Arsenal towards the back end of that game. So I'm not really sure what Newcastle are this season.
No, I think, I mean, you've mentioned 2025. It has been an unbelievable year, because they won a trophy, they got Champions League, but if you look at the year as a whole, probably for big patches, they haven't really played well. Even going back to last season. It's mad to think. Going back to last season, like they won the cup, and they didn't really put in too many good performances to get over the line. They still deserve credit for getting over the line. Yeah, can you point to the big summer of change, losing your main striker and changing it with a very, very different striker? I mean, it is a valid argument. But I think by this stage now, we should be really starting to work out how to play with your new striker, if that is indeed what Eddie Howe believes is an issue. So, no, it's just been a really frustrating start of the season, and the Champions League games again. It's really good to be in this competition.
Yes.
And tomorrow night's a really big opportunity to get a step closer to something I haven't done for years, to get the next stage of Champions League. But there's just this cloud. And the cloud is the Premier League form, and that's why we're talking about Athletic Club tomorrow, and we're looking ahead to Brentford already, because it's only the bigger game. It
does overshadow it. I get that. I was touched on it in Sunday's video, but ultimately the Champions League, you should be excited. It's Champions League under the lights. 99% of fans, 99% of clubs want to be in this position Newcastle are in tomorrow night. So I'll try and get excited for it. There is a cloud, there is negativity around Newcastle's general performances, but look, Newcastle worked hard to get in this competition, probably lucky to get in it right at the end of last season, but I think enjoy it while it's here, because it doesn't happen every year.
Yeah, but the sad thing is that it's not going to be here again next year if they continue the way they are. They've given themselves a mountain to climb in the Premier League, but yeah, we'll park that for now.
Let's hope.
And look ahead properly to tomorrow night, because I've sort of brushed on it. Yeah, we've sort of I was getting a hurry up. Sort of brushed over this game tomorrow night, but team selection. I was spoke about everything I want to, I think. In terms
I think so.
Yeah. So team selection, I want to see Eddie Howe shake it up a little bit.
You want to? Do you expect him to?
No, I don't. I think there'll be three changes off the top of my head.
Okay.
Or will it be 3 changes? I'm going to go through it now, right? So I think I would play Ramsdale. But
Ramsdale in goal?
I would play Ramsdale in goal, but I think Nick Pope will get the nod.
I said in goal as if you could play him anywhere else. Left back?
Yeah. So I think Nick Pope will play, and I think Ramsdale should. Yeah. I think it was a really, looking back at that game on Sunday, again, picking players out, it's not right really, because it was a bad performance by everyone, but Nick Pope didn't paint himself in any glory, especially of that goal he conceded in stoppage time. Question marks over whether you should have saved Paqueta a shot as well. So I would use the opportunity to give Ramsdale a go, because I think he's earned it based off his performance last week against Spurs. Kieran Trippier comes back in Disney, back in training today for Milner, so I just given that he ended up playing four right backs, different right backs, he would bring Trippier straight back in. Centre halves probably stay the same. Left back probably stays the same, because Lewis Hall, based on Eddie Howe's response the weekend, isn't going to be fit to start. Might get minutes tomorrow night, but isn't going to be fit to start, having just returned from hamstring injury. Midfield, Tonali was all right at the weekend. Again, wasn't his best performance, but I think Tonali stays in. Bruno, as I've spoken about, if he's fit, probably does. And I think the other change will be Ramsey in for Joe Linton.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see that as well.
So I would play Anthony Gordon based on his Champions League form, but if he didn't have that Champions League form behind him, he would be out for tomorrow for me.
Harvey Barnes has Champions League form too.
He does actually. But Anthony Gordon has been Newcastle's talisman in the Champions League, so he needs to keep that up.
Anthony, do better, but you're in our team.
Just because of his Champions League form. Nick Voldemort starts, and then Jacob Murphy probably still gets him on as well. So I'm talking about Eddie Howe shaking it up. That isn't really shaking it up. Really, there's only a few changes in there, but I don't know. This needs to be a response somehow. Maybe tomorrow isn't the time to shake it up. Maybe you wait till Sunday. But then if you play well tomorrow, you're like, oh, you should probably keep the same team. I don't know. Just something needs to change, man. Something needs to change.
I don't disagree with your team selection. I would probably do the same thing. I thought Dan Burn gave an interesting answer to my question, because I mean you summed up what I said quite well, which was, well, you've got Tino, Lewis Hall coming back, 2 centre backs playing well. Your days are numbered, Dan. And it's more or less what I said to him. But he said, I'm not sure, but I'm confident I'll continue to play. I've got enough credit in the bank. I'm not a fan of credit in the bank, but he has ultimately played well, particularly at centre-back already this season, and even last time out, was it in the champion? No, it was against Spurs, left-back. Had a good game in the but then dropped off the cliff, as did everyone against West Ham.
I find it really hard to criticise Dan Burn at left-back, because he's not a left-back. He said it himself there, he's a centre-half.
I want to get back playing centre-back, didn't he?
Yeah, and to be fair, he was in good form at centre-half when he got moved out to left-back.
Yeah.
So I find it really hard to criticise him. He's just not a left-back. But you're right, it gives Eddie Howe decisions to make when Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento are fit, because realistically you're probably looking at your centre-halves you've got now as your 2 centre-half partners, and then Dan Burn isn't a left-back. As much as I would want him in the team, he isn't a left-back, so does he drop out for Lewis Hall or Tino Livramento? He probably does. But yeah, decisions for Eddie Howe to make, which will be a tough one. He's always said he wants decisions to make, and that'll be a really interesting one a few weeks down the line when Livramento hopefully returns after.
Yeah, and Lewis Hall will be hopefully back to better level. Could we see a change in formation in the coming weeks? Because then you've got slightly more advanced players. Tino Livramento, Lewis Hall, historically more attacking fullbacks. So we'll wait and see in that regard. But in terms of the team selection, I agree. I think Joe Linton has to come out. He was stinking on Sunday and has been poor as even really. Bar the Bradford game, League One opposition, he's let his levels drop this season, and we know how good Joe Linton can be. It's a bit like Anthony Gordon. We know how good he can be, but I think there's been almost a light shined on his lack of, technical prowess to a degree. Although Eddie Howe would say he's still a very technically good player, it's just when you see the likes of Bruno and Tonali operate alongside him, it's a bit chalk and cheese sometimes.
Yeah, he hasn't started the season well. I think that's probably reflected by his Brazil snub as well, because he wasn't called up the Brazil squad for friendlies next week. Bruno was. Of course, he's like a linchpin in that Brazil team now, but Joe Linton didn't get in. I think that's probably a reflection on him not performing for Newcastle. But you're right, we're picking out people, but there's been a lot of inconsistent performers this season. Joe Linton falls into that bracket. Something's got to change. And hopefully they can go and get 2 results again this week, and then you use the international break again, which they haven't done this yet, but just have a proper like look at things and work out things to make sure you go on a consistent run, similar to what they've done last time as well. Last year when they went on that run and pulled themselves back into the Champions League / European race.
Yes. Do you think Ramsey's the man to come in? Because obviously you like Joe Willock's performance against Spurs, and then Lewis Miley, 2 really good 3 decent performances, particularly last time out here in the Champions League, hasn't been seen since starting the Fulham game.
I think Miley's a 6. That's the only thing. I don't really see him as an 8.
If Tonali's available, you probably.
It's a hard one because I think Lewis Miley hasn't really done anything to warrant being out of the team, but ultimately he's behind on his day one of the best midfielders, the best number 6s in the Premier League, if not Europe, in terms of Sandro Tonali. So Miley doesn't really come into my thinking as a number 8. He can't play there. That's he can't. But I think his best position is a number 6, and Tonali's ultimately there at the minute. So.
Yeah, and you paid a lot of money from Jacob Ramsey. It's time he starts to step up, play games, and hopefully deliver for Newcastle United. And Bruno, that's another thing that I guess we'll find out tomorrow night. But you need him in your team. You need some creativity.
Nope.
Blackout. That's our cue to go. We'll see you in a second. Right, well, we've been really round the houses in
3 different locations we filmed on.
Yeah,
not locations, but 3 different backgrounds.
Yeah, it was lights out in the bows.
As you see now.
And now it's going to be lights out in the Geordie Journals videos. We'll wrap up now. Point I was making on Bruno, I think if he's even got a chance of starting, he should. Newcastle need some creativity. They need someone to create opportunities for them, and Bruno's that one player. There's not many. He's that one player who can help provide it. So, I agree with your team.
Thank you.
Although I think Nick Pope will start.
Okay. Well, no, I think you will as well. But I would start Ramsdale. Would you start Nick Pope or Ramsdale?
I'd start Ramsdale, but I would have started Ramsdale at the weekend as well. I've sort of made my mind up on that, but I don't think we'll necessarily see him very much this season.
Agreed.
So, we'll be back. We've been the Geordie Journals, and we'll be back here at St James's Park on Wednesday evening, hopefully covering another Newcastle United Champions League win. So if you like what we do, please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell for all your latest Geordie Journals content. There's a few comments about hyping videos at the weekend, which is a new feature. So if you want to hype the Geordie Journals up, do that below.
Yeah, please. And please remember to like, comment, share and subscribe as well.
See you tomorrow.